Hi, my name is Heather, and I work in customer success in the UK. Today, we're going to be talking about the art of storytelling in PR. If you work in PR or communications, we don't have to tell you that your methods of reaching stakeholders and customers has changed dramatically over the last decade. Where once we focused on pitching the media for attention, today companies can reach influencers and consumers directly by publishing content, like blogs, videos, or ebooks, and by engaging through social media. Yes, traditional media still has the power to convene readers, but savvy PR professionals can build their own audiences and maintain interest over time. In fact, the most sophisticated brands essentially operate mini publishing companies, functioning a lot like media companies themselves. But just because brands can connect with the public directly doesn't mean it's easy to do. In this module, we will introduce the new rules of PR, as well as how to take the first steps towards transforming your organization into a story-driven company. We'll also show you examples of companies that are playing by these new rules, pulling in an engaged audience, not by paying for attention, but by earning it through great content delivered at the right moment to the right person. You're probably tired of hearing about brand storytelling. It's a saying that's been a bit overused in recent years as a way of explaining how companies bypass advertising and traditional PR. So forgive us as we tread on old ground, but we still think it's an apt phrase, even if it's sometimes misused. True brand storytelling is the ability to find common interests with your target audience, be it customers, influencers, or the public at large, and tell stories about those common interests in a way that is interesting, educational, entertaining, or useful. So what do these stories look like? You'll soon see the possibilities are nearly endless. Let's look at some examples. Autodesk makes software for design professionals, from architects and engineers to product designers and video game developers. Yes, Autodesk can pitch stories and earn mentions in the media and trade publications, as they once did, but the company has found a way to be the media rather than pitch the media. Its publication, Line, Shape, Space, is widely read by the professionals that Autodesk hopes to sell its product to. So how do they do it? The company employs a team of journalists to publish the kind of engaging, insightful content that they know their reader seeks out. And by doing so, has built a reputation as a leader in each of the industries that it serves. Autodesk no longer relies on the media to tell its story. They are the media in the markets that they serve. German toymaker Haber hosts monthly Ask Mali blog entry, in which children and parents ask the doll named Mali about issues that matter to them, such as, are dolls only for girls? And which language do Haber dolls speak? The write-ups are a way for the internal team to share their values and culture, but do so in a way that aligns nicely with the spirit of the business, entertaining children. Craft Beer Cellar is a New England-based beer retailer in the United States. It hosts a blog, hosts tasting events, and has a huge following on social media, considering the hyper-local market that it serves. In just 6 years, the retailer has expanded from 1 store to 24 locations that span the country. Scan Craft Beer Cellar's Facebook pages. It hosts an account for each store, and you'll see the mix of educational information, fun sharing of others' content, and a clear love of beer. The retailer says its main goal is to teach people about great beer and to become a trusted source of expertise. The consumer right now, in a lot of ways, is more overwhelmed than ever, says co-founder Kate Baker. That's where we come in. People trust us. It's important to build that trust. As seen from these examples, stories come in many forms, whether articles, videos, interactive content, infographics, live events, or social media conversations, to name just a few. What they have in common is they earn attention based on the quality of the content and the message. If you think you'd like to become a storyteller for your company, let's first get one thing straight out the way. Just because you publish content doesn't mean you're telling a good story. So what doesn't work? 1. Selfish storytelling. Any message you share that is mostly self-referential, promotional, or product-based is not storytelling. Think of a good conversation at a dinner party. The guy or gal who talks about themselves all night is boring, and you'll soon tune them out. On the other hand, the person who asks you interesting questions or shares inspiring and useful information, they're the ones you're likely to ask back. If you want to get noticed online, don't talk about yourself just in the form of press releases, product-focused content, or worse, an announcement about your incredible company picnic on Thursday. Aim to educate or to entertain. 2. Narrative-only content. 5 years ago, maybe, just maybe, you could publish a blog that was well-written and get attention for your words alone. Sadly, that's just not true anymore. Your audience has a lot of options, so your content will need to get their attention not just with words, but with visuals and with great design. 3. Self-serving punchlines. Beware the urge to plug your company at the end of an otherwise decent storytelling effort. There are graceful ways to insert a call to action in your storytelling. We'll speak about how to do this gracefully in the 4th module. 4. Speechifying. As you become more adept at publishing content, you want to reach out and include others, people outside your organization, in your efforts. Those might be customers, they could be subject matter experts, influencers, or simply fans. Getting outside perspective voices will make your story more interesting and more shareable. We'll talk about this in greater depth in the next module. Ready to get started? We're going to take you through a series of steps that will help you plan out your content storytelling efforts, from figuring out how you want to be perceived in the market to examining what topics your audience cares about most. Define values and landscape. What does your organization stand for? What values define your culture? How do you want the public to perceive you? Think about your culture and values as a backdrop for storytelling, or a story landscape. It won't be the main point of your story, but will figure prominently, as you'll see. The corporate communications team at Adidas Group recently decided that they were addressing stakeholders with content that simply wasn't hitting the mark. The problem? Its intended audience was so large that they weren't honing in on topics that truly mattered to anyone. The team decided to embark on a new content project called Game Plan A. The new content site targets employees, prospective talent, and corporate brand advocates, with stories about the power of sport to change lives. Frank Thomas, Senior Manager of Content Strategy for Adidas Group, explained to CCO Magazine, "We worked hard to find shared interests and aspirations. And even more, we aim to attract those with values that overlap with the values Adidas Group stands for." Research audience interests. What subjects are journalists interested in that your company has expertise in? What public reputation challenges are you aiming to overcome? What do your customers seek more knowledge about? It's critical that you research what matters most to your stakeholders to ensure that when you publish content, it will be relevant and interesting to them. You may find different segments of your audience want different things. For example, employees may be inspired by different information than journalists. Take your time completing this step, ensuring the time and money that you invest in creating content will pay dividends. Define your storyline. Now it's time to combine your brand values and mission with your customers' interests. Going back to our case example, Adidas Group believes strongly that through sport, we have the power to change lives. It's a statement that unites not just the communications team, but the entire global organization. The team decided it would focus on creators and entrepreneurial minds with an athlete's heart. And the storylines the site covers are related to business, sport, and lifestyle. Choose a format. There are dozens of ways to publish great content, from simple, like blogging, to complex, like documentary filmmaking. Using a blogging platform or a news platform is a great way for companies to experiment with storytelling in a way that's easy to adopt and expand, but don't forget, your story must be more than words on a page. Images and video will help tell your story and are critical to make stories shareable on social networks. Build a narrative. Now, it's time to delve into your topic areas and storylines. For Adidas Group, our case study, telling stories means publishing blog posts, interviewing athlete influencers, profiling high-profile sports figures, and accepting blog submissions from the public. None of the stories on Game Plan A are about Adidas Group or any of its well-known athletic brands. Instead, it publishes excellent content that inspires you to think differently about the company. What topics are of interest to your audience and suited to the market that you serve? Are there particular themes or stories that you'd like to explore? We recommend, at least to begin, You narrow in on a particular topic area, something you'd like to be known for as an expert source of information. For those of you with a long history in public relations, a storytelling approach will be a bit of an adjustment. Instead of pitching editors and journalists, you must now behave like one. Instead of thinking, how do I sell more? Or how do I promote my company? Your goal now is, how do I draw in more readers and build an audience from my content? Let's explore a single case to understand how it's done well. London real estate company Jones Lang LaSalle publishes a newsroom-based blog to keep readers abreast of trends and breaking news in their industry. The blog offers commentary on breaking news. For example, it reported Brexit as it unfolded, as well as expert opinions about the impact of big events and market forces. But JLL doesn't expect readers to visit its website for news and analysis. Instead, it uses its newsroom as a home base, but then sprinkles all the stories it creates across various channels, from social media sites to pitching traditional media. That's because JLL knows where its influencers and customers normally hang out, and so it brings stories to those locations. From social network giants like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, to live event panels and paid media opportunities and webcasts, to name just a few. The company also publishes special reports, such as its Global Transparency Index, and a slew of research reports about the industry that it serves. All this activity also earns the traditional media placements, such as a recent story in the Wall Street Journal about JLL's data-driven strategies. JLL is a real estate investment firm, but it's also a real estate media company. And that is what an advanced brand storyteller looks like. For every JLL, there are 1,000 companies just getting started. The important thing is to begin. 1. Brand storytelling is about finding common interests with your target audience and publishing about those shared interests. 2. Stories come in many forms, whether articles, videos, interactive content, infographics, live events, or social media conversations. They must be good enough to earn attention. No more interrupting for commercial messages. 3. Why bother? Stories are the currency of social media. If you want to engage an audience on social, you'll need something interesting to say and great stories to share. 4. Your first steps as a storyteller. A. Define your audience, and B. Define how your company's values and interests overlap with your audience's values and interests. 5. With a vision in mind, it's time to think about the storytelling mechanism. What's your story arc? Where will you tell your story, and in what form?